Hello again, everyone. Keta Kosman, publisher of Madison's Lumber Reporter, here with another exciting update of the softwood lumber and panel market prices across North America. The data that we track is FOB sawmill or mill gate prices. So this is like the producer or the wholesaler price. Doesn't include any of the added on things like commission or freight or exchange rate or duty. The prices that you see in the graphs are US dollars per 1,000 board feet. And we've had quite a up and down situation already this year, specifically on the benchmark Western Spruce-Pine-Fir KD 2x4 number 2 and better, which is one of the standard construction grade items used to build a house. The material comes out of the Pacific Northwest, so Washington State, Oregon, a little bit out of Idaho, British Columbia, of course, and Alberta. And it is a similar product to, let's say, Eastern Spruce and also Southern Yellow Pine. And so this price, while it did go up and down already somewhat this year, those highs and lows are not as severe as they were last year and the year before. So what it looks like is happening is industry, the market is sort of locating where is the new level. I get people asking me all the time, when our lumber price is going to go back down. They're not going to go back down. You're never going to see $400 2000. You're never going to see $400 2x4s again. I mean, there might be a time in an unusual situation where it hits that low for a little while, but for everybody got used to, for those 10 years between, let's say, 2006 and 2017, very severely low lumber prices, because the US housing market crashed in 2006, the macroeconomic crash 2008, and the US was underbuilt. The new construction was not enough during those 10 years to meet the population. So it was sort of like artificially depressed, and then lumber sales, of course, were low because the demand was low and the price stayed low. If those lumber prices had increased, 5, 10, 15% a year between 2007 and 2018, nobody would even notice. It's just that things were so low and flat and then just went way, way up there at the beginning of 2020 and really haven't stopped. So what I'm saying is that the past 2 years of this new situation has been unfolding. And at this point, it really looks like the industry and the customers are coming to understand where the new level is. One of the reasons why I say these $400 2x4s, it's a thing of the past, is that the cost structure for the sawmills has changed completely. And their costs are much higher now. In Canada, the main expenses for a sawmill is obviously logs, the feedstock, but I'll get to that, the energy and the employment. The staff costs and the energy costs are the highest single pay that the sawmills need to make. And then the logs. We have in British Columbia reducing supply as we're coming out of the mountain pine beetle infestation, but the death of the trees is with us, and it takes 80 years for a lodgepole pine tree to reach maturity. So when we say WSPF, Western Spruce-Pine-Fir, it's mostly lodgepole pine. It's a mixed species harvest, so you'll get some spruce, you'll get some Douglas fir, but a lot of it is lodgepole pine because that's what we planted in the 50s, in the 80s. And that's what got killed by the pine beetle because it was a monoculture. In the US South, with the southern yellow pine, which is generally speaking loblolly pine, there is some longleaf pine in the mix, but same thing. These are plantation suppliers, and it's cultured, and a lot of it is loblolly pine. And so there is a oversupply due to cultivation practices of 30 years ago. The rotation in the U.S. is faster. So that's kind of the difference when you have southern yellow pine lumber versus western spruce lumber or eastern spruce lumber. Trees that take longer to grow have a longer duration. The rings are closer together. The stress grade is higher. The actual tree itself, if it takes 80 years to grow, is bigger. So the lumber that you can make, wider dimensions and longer lengths, right? So at this moment, because of the maturity of the silviculture practices and the cultivation, it's about a 35-year rotation for the southern yellow pine. And there is a lot of timber that's been coming up in the last year or two, which is making it difficult for the loggers to negotiate with the sawmills because there's a big supply. So even though there's a lot of demand for lumber, in the US South, there's copious amounts of timber on the market. And in Canada, there's a drop, but there's always, in British Columbia, Quebec, there's always timber that's not in the rotation, that isn't provided in the cutting permits. And so, but the thing is that they're not close to the sawmills, right? I mean, there's tons of trees, but if they're 500 kilometers from the mill, not going to do you any good. So all of these factors, the timber supply, the timber prices, the lumber market, the lumber prices are sort of coming into a new era. And this is giving us a little bit of a more stability this year than we had in the past couple of years. So let's look at the graphs, because right now in the early weeks of May, there's some ideas fermenting, which might let us know how the rest of this year is going to go and what's going to happen into, this coming, now happening building season, which generally speaking is going to still be hot, might not be as insane as 2020, 2021, but still more than, let's say, 2019. So these are what I call the benchmark lumber commodities, because they are the ones that are used at the largest volume, produced at the largest volume across North America. And you can see how the 2019 line just looks really flat due to the huge volatility that we've been seeing since the second quarter of 2020. And what I've been explaining, that the highs that we're going to see, that we're seeing now, are not as high as those completely unprecedented levels of approximately $1,600 per thousand board feet that we had in second quarter of last year. And the lows are not going to be as low as we had back down almost to 2019 levels in the middle of last year. And so now this is providing more confidence to both the industry and to users that perhaps some stability is coming, even as building activity continues, most likely to the end of this year, if not into next year. So here we have that same data presented as a table. You can see the week ending April 29 price compared to the week before that. And if you look further on to the right, you'll see it's quite a bit down compared to 1 month ago. So that's what I mean about finding stability in the pricing. There will still, of course, be fluctuations throughout the year as the seasonality comes into play and as different economic conditions press on lumber prices and construction. But how high it went and then how low the recovery is not going to be so stark, and it makes it easier for business to plan. And this is the Western Spruce 2x4 benchmark item sold widely all across North America. The purple line there on the left is this year. We have The week over week change from April 29th to the previous week up $30 or 3% to US $1,090 per thousand board feet from US $1,060, down $293 or 21% from the previous month when it was $1,383, down $330 or 23% from 1 year ago when it was $1,420 US per thousand board feet, and up $754 or 224% from 2 years ago when it was $336, which is the historical price people are used to, but we're never going to see that again. Okay, great. And so interesting, right? And it's going to still be interesting. People don't need to be lumber sellers or in the sawmilling business to find this useful. The lumber prices are a good forward indicator of other economic situations, especially in relation to home building and home sales. And so I make these YouTubes or write on the website as often as I can, but the weekly full information is available to subscribers of the actual dashboard. So here in my caption is a link to my website, and have a look around and see the other things that we write about. I don't make YouTubes about every single thing. And fill out the form under the subscribe link at the top menu of my website to get a sample, or to actually subscribe to the weekly data. And then you don't have to wait weeks or later in the month when I have time or am able to make a YouTube. You can see it as it comes out. Keep up to date, stay ahead of your competition. If all you need is just these little snippets that I put on the YouTube or the website, click subscribe here so that you'll be alerted when I make another update, and click like so that this video will get recommended to other viewers.